So then we are back with the modern understandings on the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end. As per Yeshayahu the prophet, we find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Mashiach laid waste for many centuries. As we read it in Yeshayahu the prophet, it's always important making a link with Revelation. And during this period of time where taxes, it's a very important point amongst the nations, and because of the power of China and its system, we find then imperative understanding sections of Galah known as Revelation, the chapter number 8, where then we find that the freighters of the earth are then the most prominent. So then, why on the 8th chapter of Revelation it states a very important point regarding in the freighters of the earth. Why is it so important? Because there is a section of it related with a third part of the ships being destroyed. Now, chapter number 8, in fact, it's towards the end of this particular manuscript. Obviously, these were sections of Megillus that were recorded as it was during the time of the prophets, and later on, even the Hamashiach himself, he was reading sections of the writings of Yeshayahu. So we know for sure there were bits and pieces of the holy instructions and also the prophets, but these were not in a chronological order. So the writer of Revelation wrote and recorded properly. The problem was when the Greco-Romans, they put together the scripture, they did not know how to layer them properly. So obviously when a person reads Revelation, you find then they are out of order. So then certainly chapter 8, it should be before the 21st chapter, because it is related with the autumn feast. And these chapters, unfortunately, they are not on chronological order. So the only section of the holy instructions that can help with it is then understanding the Hebrew language and then sectioning these layers with the prophets. And then regarding the freighters of the earth, then the third part of the ships. Now we are talking of a system, a very important system led by China. And this particular system obviously when relates with the global market spoken of by Yeshayahu the prophet, the 23rd chapter. We find then extremely important dedicating a bit of time for the new creation of tax bases, so then nation can start copying what China is doing system-wise. So then mostly related with taxes, the new system obviously includes the various types of non-centralized distribution of virtual money. A lot of them do not have link with the central bank. So truly, lots of these monetary systems, it's not legal when governments start charging them taxes, because They don't have a link with the central bank and the legislation or then the laws regulated by then a country or system or central bank. So there are a few of these monetary systems, and quite honestly, it's not legal charging taxes for the moment. The only reason why China is extremely versatile is because they worked through ways of charging taxes. This is the whole situation. Now then, as countries in South America are going through a very rough time, nations are stealing more than ever, and India going through lots of changes, from using lots of paper money, and there is a push for the government to encourage the people to do virtual payments. So the push forward for the tax basis, it's going to be very evident, shown by the India country. Now then, because of the importance of the economy in India being part of the BRICS, we find then China and India taking the lead. And taxation truly is the main name of the game later on, when we find, and then the freighters of the earth, the freighters of the earth, the freighters of the earth. But there is a problem, a very big problem. There are internet signals that provide information and banking online, and these banking and transfers and also purchases or reimbursements or virtual payments, and a lot of them are not being tracked. So the tax basis truly is very faulty, at least in this country of ours. There are lots of complaints regarding the system being faulty and charging taxes. And because of lack of tracking, truly it shows that our country lacks organizational improvements, so then it can take on the later responsibilities and duties. And there is always the option of printing out more money, but these vices should be obviously under the control, because then the market is somewhat saturated with the USDs. So then, Congo being the most important country related with rare materials, rare minerals, we find then the nations having a truly hard time understanding why China then is becoming prominent day by day until the final launch of its system. Now, a portion of this system was already launched. It was a whole lot earlier than those roughly 32 months, but it shows the initiation, and it's already showing a second phase of taxation, and then later on comes the section of investment, an open investment of products. So then, as the market improves, there are certain secrets from the East preventing the rest of the world of developing government ways of charging taxes. As governments, they rely heavily on printing money. They think that they can make up the shortage by printing out more paper. Well, it's not true when talking of exact systems and highly standardized system in exacting tax bases where every product then sold must be taxed. Now, the Hamashiach ben Yosef, when he was talking of the future, the only recordings we have truly came not only from the Greco-Romans. The Hamashiach ben Yosef explained a whole lot more, because the reason Moses said that this prophet would come and he would become very important, it's because he explained every bit of the prophecies. He had the whole explanation until the time of the end. Obviously, when then the Shilishim, they went around and started explaining the whole instructions, the nations were at an uproar, because they did not imagine that the kingdom to come would take so long, and that it began a big revolution during the time of these holy prophecies being completed. Now then, nations, they are involved with internet signals. These internet signals, they have data from banks. These banks, not only they link the central bank, but there are systems that are not linked with central banks. So there is a mismatch, there is gap of problems from linking up the other systems. The systems of the East, there are some systems that are linked with other banks, but they are not translated into English. There are systems that are solely used in the East. So then, how can a nation charge a fair amount of taxes? What is it fair? How are they going to maintain a track of these taxes? How are they going to maintain a certain percentage of these taxes? How can a person migrating from country to country in using a certain amount coming from another system, how are they going to convert these when they travel and they do trade? Now, it's a very important, sobering question, because when a person has a lot of money and starts travel around the world and starting to make purchases, how is it then the money that there is a transfer from a bank to another bank, for instance, how are they going to charge taxes when they are purchasing products from another country? Reversing the situation, there is a person that takes certain amount of money, goes to another country, and makes purchases using the signal from this particular country. The system used does not have a link directly with the central bank. Now, how are they going to charge taxes when there is not a direct link with a tax basis? There is no way of doing it. That's where when China then excels, because China has every answer of each of these problems. That's why China can travel around so confidently and talking of restructuring and infrastructuring and refurbishments and helping other countries. Now, not only this, but how is a nation be involved with charging taxes for the certain products or every product, and then having a constancy of a percentage for every item? Now, a step further. Investments on products. When there is a transfer of values from a system to another system, from outside of a country going to another country, yet they are investing online, not linked with the central bank, how are they going to track the amount of money made as a transfer? Now, nations are obviously stuck because they can't manage these kinds of problems. They are so confident in their money printing machine that for so long they have made it a shortage by printing out more money. It's the easier way of doing it. But then unfortunately the system became exact. Now we are dealing with the computerized systems, and these shortages cannot be placed under the rug anymore. And they must come up with answers. Now, there is not yet set up a specific system on the West where then you have every virtual monetary system, including the East's monetary system, linked with the central banks. Not in the West, at least. Now then, when a person is making a purchase in a certain country, a person starts living in this country or living in another country, and a person is establishing ways of purchases. Is then the money being used going to be charged from where this money is coming from, or from where the person is making the purchase from? Now the main point is they have not considered yet very seriously the situation regarding the investment side of the virtual systems, the investment basis. Now then, China has placed a lot of equipment in space, and a lot of it related with what people know as TV and topographical or agriculture and many other tasks that this equipment in space can do, but mostly because of the new signal. Now nations, for instance, such as China and India, where the population is absolutely tremendously big, imagine the point where then India, being a huge country, starts doing this online. At the moment they have confidence in the system, then the path of the new Chinese system is nearly coming to its end. In other words, the whole system then later on, very short time, should be launched in its entirety. So, when a person has the information on the net and then reading sections of Daniel, understandably, there is a reason why in Galah or Revelation they no longer they are talking of kingdoms and nations. They are talking precisely only as the freighters of the earth in any country they are found. They don't talk anymore of this government or this system or the euro system or the USD system or then the yen system. They don't talk of these systems anymore. They are talking of freighters, because the system is already linked. The tax basis of each country is linked up with their own freighters. Now there is a situation. Governments, they can't come up with a system of tracking of their own, at least they can't. So this poses already a failure from the governments. They are dependent upon the freighters provided data. The data coming through the computer, then there is a link from each freighter and the federal government anywhere they are found. So then when the purchases are made, directly then tax is charged. Now there are systems of the East that the West simply does not know. We do know that there are many kinds of systems translated, but there are a few others that are not. And surprisingly, they can hide a lot of money in these particular non-tracked systems. Not as of yet, at least. So then, how is the government then must solve this huge problem? How are they going to gain the confidence and the trust of the freighters in a system that is badly weakened? Now, is the government going to come up with a centralized data system, or providing a system of their own? How are they going to transfer the data? How is the government going to link up? Is they going to link up with the government, linking up with the central bank? They have no answers. And the inability of coming up with rational answers, it shows the problems that our government is facing. Not only our government, in countries in South America, a lot of them cannot even count or cannot be counted as means of international or national virtual tax-based system, because the infrastructure is so bad, the stealing is so bad, the scoundrelizing is so bad that they are not counted. Now then, when there is a signal reliable, a lot of purchases can be made in another countries. Now then, they grab the funding from a nation, they go to another nation where then the price is reduced, they start making purchases, but they don't send the product to this country. Because we are not dealing with a centralized way of doing things. We are talking about a decentralized system. So at a first glance, when a person is having the mind set stuck in centralized systems, there are many smart investors, they are dealing with a decentralized. And they won't pay a dime in taxes. Then how is the government going to maintain a track of the purchases? How are they going to maintain a certain percentage per purchase? How is the signal of the internet is going to flow from a nation to nation? And how are they going to charge their particular taxes when they go on the other side of the border? So these are very important posing questions, because nations don't have the answers. The only country that has every answer is China. That's why then the kingdom of the East, that's what the holy instructions are saying. The kingdom of the East repeats and repeats and talks of the kingdom of the East. Because they are already working on this a long time ago. They have every answer regarding the new system. Their banking system, their systems are so flexible that they can confidently go through every nation, working through the details. But when the system is launched, then for many countries it's going to be very late. Because the tax bases have changed. They are no longer depending upon a printing machine. They are becoming directly dependent upon the freighters. And the problem is, the government at this point in time cannot obligate the freighters to report their data into the system of the government. So chances are, when the government starts requesting data from these freighters for tax bases, the freighters, they won't do it for cheap. Now, when the system is centralized, is a situation. When the system is not centralized, it's another situation. Now, when the system is dealt with in English, is a situation. When it's dealt with another language, is another situation. Though there is a value, there are units you can purchase. There is a certain amount and value. Now, how are they going to charge taxes? So then, while the countries are thinking of this problem and then trying to solve it, because that's why they get the big bucks, because they have answers for every situation other than stealing. and then coming up with answers, so then the development of the nations can become more predictable. Mostly when then investments can be done then directly via these decentralized systems. Now, there are some situations where a lot of products, they absolutely are not taxed, yet they are obligated to deliver it. So the governments, they are facing a huge situation they have neglected for so long. Now it's coming a point of time where then the nations that were third world countries, they can be so fastly developed and organized in a pace that it would take centuries previously. Because technology is so readily available that only the eternal can understand the intricacies and the timing it takes. So countries that were undeveloped for so many years, when a particular nation takes on the responsibility of organizing and developing, it won't take very long to have it completely organized in a very short time. And the nations say, why didn't we go there first and had these resolved? And that's what China is doing for so long. So then the Hamashiach ben Yosef, being a very wise individual, and the presence of Yod-Heh Vav-Heh in his life, we explain every section of the holy instructions and also the prophets. Later on, I'm going to make a link with what Daniel then explained regarding a few of these layers that the Hamashiach explained, and then Revelation, because the Hamashiach ben Yosef in the 24th chapter of Metuchayahu, he gives a few clues of the restoration period. And surprisingly, he also gives a few clues in Revelation, as the translation is giving that the Hamashiach ben Yosef had a revelation. But the person there in Revelation is not truly the Hamashiach ben Yosef, yet he was used as a representative. So please stay tuned, much more coming up.